let's get right into it, and we will begin with probably the biggest game. Not probably. It is. It's the headliner for Week 0 on Saturday, and once again we begin our college football season not in the United States, but once again in Dublin, Ireland. Aviva Stadium will be the home for the season opener of the college football season, and it's a Big 12 conference matchup to get things going. The Iowa State Cyclones taking on the Kansas State Wildcats. Current line as Kansas State 3-point favorites. Again, this is on a neutral field over in Dublin, Ireland. 49.5 the total here in this game. First thing I did prior to the show is check the latest weather forecast over in Dublin, Ireland for Saturday. It's always what you want to do. And all things considered, not going to be too bad. Partly to mostly cloudy, but no precipitation in the forecast as of now, and the winds don't look to be too bad. We're looking in the 15-kilometer, 20, 25-mile-per-hour range. So winds do not look like they're going to be that big of a factor. Now, there has been, widespread observations when they've played here in the past that sometimes footing isn't the greatest on this surface. On this field.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. Certainly the fact that there doesn't seem to be any precipitation in the forecast. And in fact, the days leading up to this game in Ireland, the weather looks pretty solid as well. So this could be one, if there is such thing as this playing surface being adequate for football, if it's ever going to be that, it's probably a better chance of it this year because it looks like dry conditions in Ireland leading into this game. One of the things that I noted with both of these, well, we'll start with Iowa State. We went into depth with these teams, obviously in the Big 12 preview, so I'm not going to try to regurgitate everything all over again. But the things that I want to hit home with Iowa State is obviously this year they bring back a very experienced quarterback in Rocco Becht. He's been here for a good amount of time. He had a pretty solid year last year for the Cyclones as well. But there is still a lot of turnover and a lot of new faces around him. The good news is on the offensive line is one of those position groups that's in decent shape here for Iowa State, where they have 3 starters back. So that's pretty solid. Rocco Becht, like I said, he's gotten increasingly better. I think his career started a little bit rough, but no, there's no question he's made improvements and strides forward, no doubt. He's also a tough son of a gun. He throws the ball. He's willing to run. He takes a pounding too. Like he's willing to take on contact when he runs the football. He's got that kind of a mentality, a winning mindset to him, which is what you want to see. They also bring back Carson Hansen, who's going to be their lead running back this season for the Cyclones. Now they do have some new faces at receiver, and they got kind of raided a little bit there with departures, but they did do pretty good in the transfer portal, bringing in some talent at the wide receiver position. So the offense, all things considered, running backs look solid. Bring those Hansen back in particular, the lead back. Becht's back at quarterback. 3 of the 5 are back on the O-line. The only concern, I guess, would be the receiving core, but there's talent. It's going to be a question of do they assimilate quickly and get that chemistry with Becht going quickly. That's going to be the question. The defensive side of the football, if you look back at the numbers last year, that's where it kind of took a hit for Iowa State. They weren't quite that same great defensive team. They weren't horrible, but their defensive numbers did take a step back last year. And last year, a big problem was the run defense. They just gave up way too much on the ground, the Iowa State Cyclones, and that is a concern. And another concern is, now you could say they struggled against the run last year. The fact that a lot of defensive linemen from last year are gone, that might be a good thing. But you're still talking about a lot of new faces. Is the chemistry going to be there on the D-line right away for Iowa State? I have my doubts, and unfortunately, C-Mac, you're playing an opponent here right off the chute in Week 0, Kansas State. What are they going to be looking to do? Yeah, they're going to run the football quite a bit. So if you're talking about a Iowa State defense that struggled, last year to stop the run, and you've got a lot of new faces on the D-line to start this season, could that be a problem here in this game against Kansas State, who will look to run the football, obviously, early and often? Secondary, there's also new faces there, and there's going to be some youth. There's going to be some new players brought in via the portal, but a lot of them are going to have to prove themselves as starters. A lot of those portal additions are not starters from where they came. So that is going to be something to watch out for Iowa State coming into this season. So secondary concerns, defensive line concerns. They're better off at linebacker, which is a good sign. But 2 of the levels of the defense, there are some legit concerns. Meanwhile, Kansas State, Chris Kleiman already his 7th season here at K-State. Avery Johnson returning at the quarterback position. Again, working on his pocket passing, and reading and his progressions and getting better at all that, making better decisions. That's where Avery Johnson has to take the next step for Kansas State. The offensive line here is pretty good as well. Dylan Edwards, a very solid running back in the fold once again here for the Wildcats as well. And they've got some pretty solid depth behind him at the running back spot as well, this Kansas State team. The defensive side of the football, very solid against the run, unlike Iowa State last year. Kansas State was very solid against stopping the run, less than 4 yards per rush allowed last season. Pretty good. You look at the D-line this season, they should be really good in that group. So you give a defensive line edge on paper going into this game, starting the season, to Kansas State, in my opinion, because I think Iowa State's got a lot more question marks there. Wildcats, a pretty solid linebacking core as well, led by Austin Romaine, who's an excellent player. Secondary for them has concerns. Talked about Iowa State having concerns and a lot of new faces and hoping a lot of these transfer portal additions hit in the secondary. You could say the same damn thing about Kansas State. They've made a lot of changes. Pass defense last year at times kind of struggled, so it was a complete offseason revamping of the secondary, CMAC. Who the hell knows how it's going to work out, when it's just a bunch of brand new faces thrown in there right away. So the bottom line is this total's come down, and from a pace standpoint, I get it. This total opened early in the spring and summer at 50.5. It's come down to 49.5. Clearly, there was always weather concerns. The weather doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. You're not going to get pace, and I understand that from an under standpoint here. Iowa State's not going to play fast. Kansas State's not going to play fast. But there are a lot of concerns on defense for Iowa State on the D-line and in the secondary, and Kansas State should have success running it, I think, against them. And on the flip side, when you look at Kansas State, their secondary's got issues. They're certainly better off on the D-line on paper to start the year than Iowa State, but Iowa State does have a good run game. They've got a quarterback that grew up last year in the passing game and backed. I'll kind of lean over with the 49.5. It's not a super strong opinion, but and I'm going to wait to bet this because there's no chance that I'm betting it today. I want to get closer to Saturday and see what that forecast is going to be, because it could change. This is Ireland. Things can change over there in the UK sometimes very quickly, just like that as far as weather. So I'm going to wait on this, but I'm kind of leaning over 49.5. That efficiency can trump pace here in this game offensively. Sidewise, I didn't have an opinion initially because it was 3.5 just a couple weeks ago. It's come down to 3 or less. I lean K-State. I just think they're going to be able to do a better job running the football against Iowa State than vice versa. That I think could be what tilts it in K-State's favor. I think their defense is on less shaky ground, the Wildcats coming into the year, than the Cyclones. So I think that could end up tilting this game toward K-State. Again, I haven't moved on it yet, but we're just throwing some leans out there on this game that if it's 3 or better, I would look at Kansas State, and I do lean at 49.5 to the over in this game. Again, waiting till later in the week to move on either. And even then, I'm not sure I will, but I'm leaning in those directions. CMAC, what do you think here for the season opener, Iowa State, K-State?
Yeah, KP, we will get to touch on a couple of MLB games at the very end of the show. We're not going to go through them, but we'll hit on a couple bets that we like. On the total here, right off the bat, yeah, this is a wait for me too. I mean, looks like it's going to be clear, but that, we're still a little bit out here. Because I was thinking, I'd want over to the 49. There's 49.5. Does this drop maybe a little bit more? So I'm kind of lukewarm if this drops and see how it plays out. That maybe it could slip over. Going back with these two teams, they played some overs. Just glancing at the history, Iowa State too. Winners of 4 of 5. K-State's only win a couple years ago was 10-9. That was one of the kind of rare unders, like low scoring game between these two. But Iowa State, you mentioned it, backs back. You got to like that. The running backs, I think, are pretty good. Iowa State been not the best team ATS in August too. Last few years, always like to look at that, how these teams come out of the chute early on in August and September, and their record ATS. With those receivers out, they had the transfer from ECU. They're going to need some of those guys to make some big plays. They're going to want to run the ball, but it won't be easy. K-State, their run defense, I think, will be solid. Be solid again. You know, they got a couple good linebackers, good safety and Payne, so I think they can hold that. But the flip side with Iowa State, I mean, you hit on it a little bit. The pass defense was all right. You know, we'll see if it's that good, but you know, very, very good when you look at the numbers there. But the run defense, we hit on it a bunch last year and in the preview, so that it's been pretty rough. And they weren't able to get pressure on the quarterback. They just weren't. You know, they have a good D tackle, and you know, I think he's basically all conference in Orange. So they have a couple players. It's just that will be big in this game. And the quarterback play between both. Let's get to Johnson here. They're going to run the ball. They were second in the conference. You know, very, very good last year was K-State. They should have success here. Avery Johnson, though, just is a different guy. This is not a traditional road game. I mean, it's been the classic. When he's at home, back him. On the road, fade him. This is neutral. You know, a little bit different opening game. Dangerous. The guy can run, obviously. Mobile quarterback. Very good. But I got to see more. People think he's going to be a lot better throwing the ball. You know, I want to see it a little bit, especially on a game like this, on a neutral or a road game with Johnson. So that, I think, is up in the air. So I think there could be a couple, you know, big plays, you know, interceptions, stuff like that in a game like this with these two quarterbacks that maybe could change it. Yeah, so on the side here, you know, I didn't bet the 3.5. I just didn't, a little bit early out. I didn't. It's 3. I'd want the 3.5 because I do lean Iowa State here. I just don't think there's a ton that separates these two teams. You know, the run defense scares the shit out of me from what I saw, you know, last year. And but K-State's just not a team I've wanted to back a ton on the road. But looking back, it's like, do I want to run to Iowa State with some of the numbers early on, play in Ireland? You know, so it's 3 and a hook. I was interested here with Iowa State, but just not a game I've been involved to wait a little bit here. Man, if I want to pull the trigger, you talked about the total a little bit with the side. I think this game is pretty close. You know, I don't know if it's like, this is college football game 1, so it could happen, but I think it's like a 10-point game or less, you know, in the end. And we've seen that a bunch when these teams get together. One thing, though, they don't play on a neutral field, and they don't really play game 1. These teams always play in November, late October, year in and year out. And just a little bit of a difference there. But I just think that, you know, a little bit too close. Line's probably right. But lean Iowa State here for me.
All right, there you go. Lean Iowa State for me, or lean Iowa State for CMAC. Lean Kansas State for me, and neither of us feel strongly about either one. So, tells you all you need to know about this one. It could be a good live betting game. That's the one thing I probably.
Yeah, that's great too. Yeah, all eyes are going to be on this game.
Yeah, I don't think either team is going to separate from the other. So if one scores a touchdown, you bet the other. That's kind of going to be the approach. I think it will be.
See how it goes. Like we talked about, turnovers early, just you're not in rhythm. Game 1, you don't have to bet this just because it's fucking the first game and it's in Ireland. Everyone wants to. Everyone's itching here. I know you got to scratch that itch. But sometimes you just, let's wait a little bit, bet it live. I think it'd be, you know, the better way to roll here.
Sometimes patience is the best course of action. 100%. That is
especially
definitely true.
As a gambler, if you're betting on sports, yes.
No doubt. There's definitely truth to that. One thing that would concern you if you like Kansas State in this game, because I did notice this, and it does concern me a little.
Did you just bounce? Can you guys hear me? Yeah? Okay, we'll take it over. He must have bounced from his internet. But
there we go. Sorry. Yeah. We're back. All good.
Are you good? You gonna go? Okay. Go ahead. Take it over.
No. I apologize, guys. Closed the wrong window. We're back.
No, you're good. I was just gonna keep going. Go ahead.
I was just about to say the one thing that would concern me if you like Kansas State, and I lean that way, is that Iowa State's really owned them. Certainly from a point spread standpoint. You look at the recent meetings between these two teams, and it's been an Iowa State skewed series. Iowa State's covered 5 straight head-to-head versus Kansas State. 5-0 against the spread for Iowa State, and only one win, 1-4, by the way, Kansas State in those 5 games, and the one win was 10-9, 1 point. You know, it really has been Iowa State controlling this head-to-head series. So, yeah, that's why I'm like, I would need this to get down to a damn near pick 'em to take Kansas State. I don't even really want them at -3.
I see that 3 even. That's what I kind of thought a little bit.
Yeah,
if you got the hook, I think it's easy. We'll see what Johnson does.
Yeah,
too. This could be the big game. To get it going. A lot of hype behind him if he has a big game.
and remember, these have been all Kleiman versus Campbell. There hasn't been any coaching changes. Kleiman's been here 7 years. Matt
they know
Campbell's
each other.
been here even longer at Iowa State. They know each other well. And so with the same 2 coaches at their respective teams, that's 4-1 straight up, 5-0 against the spread for Iowa State, head-to-head versus Kansas State the last 5 meetings. You can't ignore that, and
Yeah,
there's definitely something to that.
Me too. I just think there's not a ton. It's just a little bit of the game 1 in Ireland and everything kind of around it, I think. But if you got a 3.5 and you really like Iowa State, you got to feel good. At least you have the hook if you got it.
No doubt. You got a good number if you got the 3.5.